Welcome back to another episode on the MLD Balls page. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how much better the Minnesota Timberwolves got this all season. Yeah, so like I said, we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this is a team that I believe they gotten better this offseason. And I'm going to start it off with somebody who I was wrong about going into last season. I didn't think Coach Finch was that good of a coach. He proved me wrong immediately as the playoffs began. And Rudy Gobert, he looked amazing in the playoffs. Cat looked better than he usually does. Anthony Edwards has looked good. Jaden McDaniels, I believe this was his second time in the playoffs, but his first time as the type of player he is now to me, and he did really well. This defensive scheme that he was going out and doing, bro, like he was plugging plays that I didn't think he was capable of. And shout out to Coach Finch. He is a great basketball mind, and I just, for some reason, when I was watching him throughout the regular season, I was seeing a bunch of red flags that I didn't like. And look, Coach Finch, he solidified himself as one of the best coaches in the league. And we're going to talk about this team now with this starting lineup, probably one of the best in the NBA. You got Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Karl Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert. One of the best defensive units in the league. You got Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert, who are both all NBA defenders at their outright positions. You got Anthony Edwards, who's no slouch himself. You have Mike Conley and Karl Anthony Towns. Mike Conley's kind of getting older, and Karl Anthony Towns, he's never been all that on defense. I don't know. He just is the guy who tries to be the hero and doesn't realize he's probably the worst defender on the team. But, he goes out there and try to make heroic plays for some reason. And then Mike Conley, like I said, he's just older. He used to be a good defender, but he's just older. And, yeah, guys is just going to beat him. Off the bench, you got sixth man of the year, Naz Reid, super young, and he's a great player off the bench. Nickeil Alexander-Walker buys into that defensive identity that they have. So does Naz Reid. So does Joe Ingles, and he's a lengthy wing who can shoot the three. And he has a lot of chemistry with Mike Conley, with Rudy Gobert, with even Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I believe. So that is something that he's going to be able to plug in and fit with this team immediately. Yeah, he's on the older side, but this team is also on the contending side of the NBA. So it's no problem with that. They have two guys who they bought into this draft a little bit, which was kind of surprising. Didn't expect the Timberwolves to be big draft players, but they got Rob Dillingham, who's a great player we're going to talk about. And they also got Terence Shannon, who's another great player we're going to talk about. And then to end off the bench, they got Luka Garza, who he didn't play bad in the minutes that he was given, but he wasn't given that much minutes. Leonard Miller, who's kind of been a project player, kind of similar to Jaden McDaniels type of build, but he's more on the project side of it. And then you got two players who I honestly don't know about. I know about most of this roster, but yeah, those two guys, though those names are chopped, don't know who they are. And for the Minnesota Timberwolves, the big thing for them last year was at the end of the games, Mike Conley just didn't have the same juice. And, Anthony Edwards couldn't do it all by himself. Jaden McDaniels is more of a defender. Rudy Gobert is more of a defender. Karl Anthony Towns is more of a play finisher. And next to Anthony Edwards, he didn't have anyone else creating on the perimeter with him. So I feel like if they could go out and get a Rob Dillingham to somehow be a closer for them in these lineups, that would be huge for the Timberwolves. But it's also hard to ask for that because he's so young and is only a rookie. So don't want to ask him to do that. But in the hopeful world where this team wins a championship, it will be because something like that happened. This Minnesota Timberwolves team, they are not looking to be a player in the playoffs. They're not looking, they did this season, they had the run that makes them want to go back and win it all. And for someone to come in and fix their problem, it doesn't seem like they got anyone else but Rob Dillingham. And if he doesn't do it, he's a rookie and it's understandable. But if he does do it, Timberwolves are looking scary, man, especially to close out games because Anthony Edwards, we already know what he could do. And him being double or triple teamed, they kind of hurt him because he's not that great of a playmaker. And when you just have him next to a bunch of play finishers who aren't helping him finish plays himself, you put in too much, you asking too much out of him, especially as a playmaker. We know he's not that. But if it doesn't work out with Rob Dillingham, they're just gonna go back to Mike Conley, and just hope over time things get better. Or maybe at that point, if the Rob Dillingham thing doesn't work, you bench Rudy Gobert and put Naz Reid, so you can have at least a 5 out offense going without Rudy Gobert. But at the same time, your defense takes a toll with that. But Naz Reid is a fine defender himself, so you'll be able to get through it, I guess. That's just the thing about this Timberwolves team. They're gonna have to find out what their closing lineup is. In my opinion, as a coach, you have to be willing to bench Rudy Gobert, especially at end of games. You don't want him to have such a great season be defined by you not wanting to put him on the bench at the end of games. That we know that's not what his strong suit is. But if you could find a Rob Dillingham that allows him to still be in your paint at the end of games because you don't need the extra spacing because you have an extra shot creator, that would be cool. But if you can't find an extra shot creator, you probably do just go with Mike Conley at your point guard position and Naz Reid at center and just close out with that. Or depending on what your matchup is, this closing lineup is the big thing about the Minnesota Timberwolves to me because they do have a rotation of players that they could play throughout games. Because look at this third and fourth rotation, they have Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Terence Shannon, Joe Ingles, and Rudy Gobert. And like I said, they have Mike Conley, Ingles, Gobert, and Nah, who I believe they all played with each other on the Jazz. So they have a team chemistry. They have a structure of plays that they used to go to already. And Mike Conley was the point guard, so he knows how to get to those sets for them. And Terrence Shannon is literally a plug and fit player, so he would have no problem with he wouldn't ruin anything for them. And then on the other like unit of this roster, they have Rob, Edwards, Jaden, Nas, and Cat. You have a 5 out lineup that has a bunch of scoring to it with Rob and Edwards in your backcourt, especially with Cat too. So this Timberwolves team have a bunch of depth that works out together, that fit well, that even their chemistry together is good, and that's why this team made a run last year. This team is nice, man. This team is super nice, and the rookies that they put them in a perfect scenario because looking in the draft, let's get right into it. Rob Dillingham was a guy who hey, he's not good on defense. He's 6'1", he's light, and he's not all that on defense. But if you could put him next to Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, he has 3 to 4 legitimate centers on this team that are good and could help him on that side of the ball with Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards. He's not going to be asked to do that much on defense. And guess what? This team needs super bad a perimeter creator. And I think that's one of Rob Dillingham's strengths. He's a great perimeter creator. He's an elite ball handler. When he has a string on that thing, man, he's super explosive. He's one of those 6'1" guys that gets up and dunks yeah. Rob Dillingham is nice, very athletic, and his 3-point is very much positive. In the summer league, he was a short a lot of times, and that's a good thing to me that he was short in the summer league. That just means that he's used to the college 3-point line, and he was shooting short because he's usually at the college three. And instead, now he's gonna eventually get used to it. But for now, he's not. So my pro comes from is Terry Rozier, Allen Iverson. He's one of those guys who he gonna get his buckets. Kyrie Irving, Jalen Green, Bones Highland. Like I said, he got a string on that thing, and no matter what, in my opinion, he's gonna be a bench player, 6-man of the year type of guy. I think Rob Dillingham is real nice, and Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, those are more names. Jordan Clarkson. My favorite name is probably Kemba Walker. Man, Rob Dillingham is so nice, and if you could have any of those guys besides Jalen Green play next to Anthony Edwards, that's a positive to have on this Minnesota Timberwolves team. And all they did was send a draft pick from 2027, and that year they're still going to be a good team, so they literally just traded a draft pick from the future for a player that they see fits everything that they need right now. And no matter what, even in 2027, who cares? We're going to be a good team still, and at least we took a shot on a guy who fits our team. And even if he's a bench player, this is a championship team. A bench player, especially with how their cap space is looking and all of that stuff, will be a positive. I think Rob Dillingham is going to be one of those guys who's in the NBA for at least his whole entire rookie contract. He gets a second contract in the league, in my opinion. And his red flags, his cons is his height. and because of his height, his defense, and the only like thing besides his frame that's a problem is he's tunnel vision. You know, like hey Kodak, you know, yo Kodak that don't let you see you winning, they want to see you in the penitentiary. Yeah, he got that tunnel vision sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, but even Allen Iverson had tunnel vision. You know, Terry Rozier, he has tunnel vision sometimes. Hey, that's just what comes with these type of guys. Colin Sexton, he got tunnel vision. You know, any girl you want, any girl I want. Yeah, but that's Rob Dillingham for you. I do think that he's super nice. It's gonna be a instant impact for this Timberwolves team. He's gonna be a guy who I don't know if this is how hot of a take this is. He could be in 6 man of the year races. Like he really could. I think Rob Dillingham in his rookie year could be in that 6 man of the year race. He's that good, and if he hits immediately, I do think him coming off the bench would still be the right thing to do. He came off the bench for Kentucky and was pretty willing to do that. So don't see a problem with him doing it in the NBA for now until Mike Conley is like, you know, obviously worse than him. But Rob Dillingham is an instant impact on his team, and so is Terence Shannon Jr. Terence Shannon Jr. is a 23-year-old, 6'6", 219 pounds. He can play the shooting guard or small forward. And dude, his only red flags was his draft age, and he had a legal issue during the draft. After the draft, he ended up beating it. He ended up being innocent, and you know how those legal cases be. You know how they be. It was somebody trying to lie on his name, and the court even exposed that they were trying to lie on his name. So he was actually 100% innocent. And you know, I ain't gonna talk about it too much, but that was the only reason he fell in his draft age. He is a great off-ball player. He's plug and play. He has a high motor and energy. He's super explosive, and he's also an athletic freak. He reminds me of Kelly Oubre Jr. He even has a similar release to him, which is kind of funny. Jaime Jaquez Jr. and Troy Brown. You know, he's going to be a guy who comes, plays off ball. He doesn't have a glaring issue with his playmaking. It's not a strength either, but like finishing plays, he is a great play finisher, good shooter, good dunker. He great in transition, very athletic, and he's a good defender. Like he's just a all-around player who could shoot the ball very well. Like you have no problem with a guy who could come in and play small forward for you. And he could back up Jaden McDaniels. He plays similar to Jaden McDaniels, but is a better shooter and a worse defender, you know? Like, come on, man. A player like this falling in the draft was literally only because of his age and that legal problem he was having. And he could have been in the mid lotteries if it wasn't for all that. He averaged 20 in college. You know, I think he was 38% or 36. He was like league average from three, above league average for college, but you know, league average in the NBA wise from three. And that is no problem. You got a positive floor spacer, high energy off the bench, defend pretty well. And look, come get him that late in the draft. Literally, like I said, only legal issues. And yeah, that will be it for this video. I started chopping up my words a little bit at the end, but ended up catching myself back. And like I said last video, I'm recording this in the Suns video right now. We're currently at 140 subscribers. Hey, let's see how much I have by the end of this week, because y'all been supporting a lot, been motivating me to keep doing more videos, because hey, the support makes it easy, you know. And if y'all keep supporting, you know, let me stop begging on the internet. 140 subscribers. Hopefully we can get some more. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, God bless, and everybody have a nice day.